surrender and let go doesn't mean that I'm gonna let go of everything that I built or created. And I think also that's like a misconception that people think like, well, if I'm just gonna like surrender, then how's anything gonna get done? I am a like somatic embodiment facilitator, teacher, coach. Everything I do is based in nervous system regulation. You know, everything that we talk about in the spiritual world, getting connected to your intuition, right? Being able to trust yourself, being able to surrender, all of that actually comes from being able to be embodied and be able to have a regulated nervous system in order to be connected to yourself in that way, and also be connected to spirit. So take a lot of spirituality and bring it into the 3D, and yeah, it's been such a beautiful, beautiful journey.
Hey, I'm Taylor Davis. Welcome to Wildly Satisfied. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back. This is the third and final episode in the series with Rachel Gibler, and we have been talking so much about the body as a leadership gateway, nervous system navigation, feminine leadership, and what I'm really excited for is definitely this last episode where we get to talk about what embodied feminine leadership looks like and how that creates a little bit more sustainable success. One thing that I always say with people is that if it's not pleasurable, it's not sustainable. And I'm very much interested in creating sustainable businesses for feminine leaders, because we all know what it's like to be in a hustle, masculine mentality. Yeah. And so I'm excited to be able to talk with Rachel about this and to dive in. So I guess we'll just start with, what does feminine leadership look like for you or feel like?
I love this. Yeah. So for me, feminine leadership looks like honoring the body and letting the body lead. And I think for years, and so many people can probably relate to this, is we live in a masculinized society and a hustle culture in a way that caters to men, even in 9-to-5 jobs, right? Like a 9-to-5 is on the masculine clock. Like very much so. Yeah. So it looks like, I for many, many years lived very burnt out, hustled a lot, didn't honor my body, didn't honor my cycle, didn't honor my different energy levels, fully was living dissociated from my body, couldn't even have told you what my body was telling me. You know, it was just like, I have to get this done, and very goal oriented and very like, you know, here are the steps and this is what I have to do. I operated from a place of like, I have to, and pushing myself, and and I still very much like have goals and have structures and all of that kind of stuff, but I was making decisions from my head and trying to figure it out and like just completely negating my body in the process. And so what that's looked like for me now is honoring my body, honoring my emotions, honoring my body's natural rhythms and processes and energy. I don't force myself to do things that don't feel like a full body yes. I always check in with my body. So like, what does it mean to let your body lead? It's, for me, I check in with like my body and what my body feels like a yes to and what my body feels like a no to. And if my body is a no, you're a no. Even if I don't make sense of it. So it's looking like, you know, the more somatic work that we do, the more we are connected into our intuition. Because when you get, like when we're dysregulated, we are disconnected. So when you get more connected and in touch with your body and what your body is telling you, you're more connected and in touch with your intuition. And yeah, so for me, it really looks like honoring what my body needs, and also like doing things. I try my best to do things like synced with my cycle. It doesn't always work out that way.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's definitely a process, I think. I feel like it took me years for wanting to everything to be perfect with cycles in my in my cycle. But yeah, it definitely, there's life and life happens. And sometimes you can't be all, I got to stop everything when you hit your menstrual cycle. So part of it. So.
And that's also when your inner masculine can come in and you can still hold yourself, and then you can still get the things done. Because I think for a long time I thought like feminine business just means that I have to be so flowy and like, and I cancel if I want to cancel. It's like, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be the person that like doesn't show up for my commitments or doesn't show up because I'm just like flowing that day. Like that also doesn't lead to a structured business. That doesn't lead to success. And at the same time, like that's not actually truly honoring of yourself, because it's, you won't actually feel good at the end of that. So yeah, it's being able to also like bring in my inner masculine to hold myself with structures and processes, but again, still staying and remaining connected to my body, to my intuition, and letting that lead my decision making.
Yeah, I feel like it's so funny because the more that I speak with people, the more like, oh my God, feminine, it's just flow. It's just I get to do whatever I feel like. And I'm like, that's not what happens.
Yeah.
When you're in your body, it's like, no. But how do you still get things done? How do you write? And it's like, a lot of the times what I see with people is they go from, I'm going to flow, and they swing the opposite side of the pendulum, and then it's like hustle for a little bit, and then they're back, and it puts them in a dysregulated state, which is not integrated. And so I love that you said that, it's really being in your body and letting that lead. I think it's beautiful. With what you see a lot in feminine leaders, what do you think is the biggest challenge for them as they step into their feminine leadership? Because you work with a lot of women, especially with nervous system regulation and everything. So what do you see as like a top 3 challenges as they're like working inside of a very hustle-based masculine system?
Yeah, well, I think number 1, people get really burnt out. Yeah. Like that's like number 1.
It's these conversations we're having right now.
Yeah, exactly. People get really burnt out and operate from a place of like, I have to. And like, I should do this. And there's like shame that's layered. Anytime you say you should, like there's some form of shame that's also being layered. And thinking that they have to like get to a certain thing that's outside of themselves. Like there's there's milestones and benchmarks. And there's this like energy of like very like tight and contracted and in like a gripping. And so I think, having somebody start to understand that like, surrender and let go doesn't mean that I'm going to let go of everything that I've built or created. And I think also that's like a misconception that people think like, well, if I'm just going to like surrender, then how's anything going to get done? Like, I think that's,
I've heard that so many
times. Yeah. Like so many people think that that's the key, and myself included. Like I had this exact question for quite a while, and I was gripping and not like surrendering. But I will say the feminine, it's not about what she does. It's her way of being, right? And so you could still do all of your calendar in the way that your calendar is structured in this current moment, if it felt good to.
Yeah.
But you could do it from a very different place. And I know we mentioned on the last episode, like devotion versus discipline, right? Yeah. It's like you could grip and hustle and be tight and be so disciplined and like check off the boxes and try to do the thing. Or you could be connected to your breath. You could be connected to your body. You could still stay on a schedule. You could move through your day with like allowing yourself the spaciousness. And spaciousness doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have any structure any time. Spaciousness is actually like spaciousness in my body, connection to my breath, my presence in this moment, slowing down just a little bit. And that can be in your internal state, and it could look literally no different from somebody on the outside looking in. So I think people often think like, oh, if I surrender, that means I'm not going to do anything. Or like, how am I going to get anything done? It's like, well, no, surrender is simply a state of being in the way that you're operating. So making that distinction, I think, is like really key for people.
Yeah, I can feel that. I feel like definitely when I've gone about certain things, when I was really incredibly hyper masculine in my business when I first started, even the way that I like approach the day, I would be like, okay, I got to get these things done, and I have to sit down, and I've got to do this. And even the way that my voice and the feeling in my body when I say those things right now, it's very different than being like, okay, I feel like today I definitely want to get this done, and I want to be able to do this. And there's just like this softness, and it reminds me of like silly putty, where it's like you pull it apart and you're like, okay, and then you're like, I'm going to move forward. And it's not this like boom, 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 boom rush feeling. And I always say that with human design and stuff, like I'm a splenic authority.
Okay.
And so
you're a projector?
I'm a projector.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're a generator, right?
Manny Gen.
Okay. I was like, you're a generator of some kind.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Do you know what your profile lines are?
1-3.
1-3. Ooh, okay. I get so into this.
Yeah.
I'm a 4-6 splenic projector.
Okay.
And the spleen is how I make decisions, and it's an instant answer. And so, but the feeling that I used to operate from, because there's 2 sides to the spleen. One of them is, oh my God, we need to do this. Oh my God, we gotta get this done. And it's very fear-based, because that's what the spleen is.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is knowing. It's go to Bali. you need to do this. It's very in the moment, it's assured, and it's knowing versus fear.
Yeah. And sounds grounded.
It's very grounded.
Yeah.
And you don't mess with it either. You follow whatever that's like.
Yeah.
Because I did that. I about like 2 years ago, I got a hit and a splenic hit that's like, move to Austin, Texas. And I ignored it. I'm like, I'm not moving to Texas. Why would I move to Texas?
Where were you before?
I was in Nashville.
Okay. Oh my God, I like Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Michigan. But
Okay.
and so like, anyway, all of that to say, I ignored it. I went through hell for like a year, and then I got the hit again right after those psychedelic journeys I mentioned in the last couple episodes. And it was like, move to Austin, Texas. And I was like, okay. And then my life blew up.
Oh,
and so in the best way, as it does in Austin. But yeah, I feel like there's just a difference to the energy as you approach it. When you're in your feminine, and I feel like this is like the wounded versus healthy. I don't know how you would describe it, but it's like, when there's a rush, when there's like, oh my God, we gotta get this done, or I've got all these things on my to-do list and I gotta do this and da-da-da-da. It's like, you're obviously in a dysregulated state.
Yeah.
A little bit. And whether it's masculine or feminine, it's the feminine, I feel like, is a little bit more grounded and there's a little flow. It's kind of like an ocean wave.
Yes.
Feeling.
Yeah.
Versus like just taking everything out with a tsunami. That's very different.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I describe it. Yeah. And how I mentioned before, it's like the energy goes from up here to down here. Right. And like, that's the shift that I saw in myself from doing this work. It's like, I became a lot more grounded. Everything, the decisions that I made, everything got slower. It was like moving through molasses, but like at the same time, the external in my life sped up.
I feel that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really what happened. The more that I operated from this and the more that I did this work, yes, I was experiencing more joy, more pleasure, more excitement, but it also is like everything is equal and opposite. So I also experienced everything in the opposite direction too, because every single time that we expand our capacity to feel more, hold more, be with more, call in more, receive, all of that. And so I ended up also having more to process, more to experience, more, so as everything, the more I operated like this, it was like this slowness, this groundedness, but also my ability to handle life as it came through was massively expanded as well.
So what I know describes what you just described as having more responsibility. Like as you expand, it's can you I don't know exactly how they say it, but it's like, oh, okay, if you want more, there'll be more responsibility, which means you'll have to process more in your body, etc. So it's amazing. I wanted to ask for one thing you said earlier. When you have those moments where you're like, no, but I'm going to slow down and how can I move through it, right? What do you do in the moments when you're like, but I really have to get this done even though I don't want to?
Yeah, totally. It kind of depends on what the thing is.
Okay.
Yeah, it really just depends for me. Like sometimes, like if I really need to process or feel something, I'll like see if I can create a little bit of spaciousness to go like do some somatic work or somatic practices and like get like even just shifting my state. So like we can shift our state, again, breath, sound, and movement relatively quickly. Like even 3 minutes of dancing, like everybody can take 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
3 minutes of dancing, shaking, moving. Like you might not be able to do a whole like hour-long process, but like can you see if you can shift your state even just a little bit, and your level of capacity to be able to focus after that can be so helpful. Sometimes like the inner masculine has to come online and be able to be like, okay, this is the thing that I'm doing right now. Can I be with this? Can I allow myself to breathe and like refocus and do the thing? And there's some days where I'm just like, this isn't happening. We'll do this tomorrow now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it kind of depends on the day.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. I try to make it as pleasurable as possible.
I like that.
So if I'm going to, for example, I was really against social media stuff, especially when we first moved in here. And I was like, cool, let's make this as pleasurable as possible. And we went out to like a wine bar bookstore coffee thing.
Yes.
And I'm like, amazing. We're going to go for 2 hours. We're going to get a glass of wine and we're going to go edit reels or whatever it is we were doing.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, this is a better like environment. It feels even pleasurable. So I try to add those things in.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I do that all the time too. It's like, how can you delight your senses? How can you make this like more fun? Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to get dressed up and like go somewhere. It's like, I feel really good. Or like, what are those things for you that like recalibrate your energy, that make you like come from a place of more excitement? Sometimes it's like really like I let myself root into like my why again. Yeah. Like that's a bit like root into my devotion to what it is that I'm creating. And like that can be really powerful as well. So
I love that. What are some things that, cause I'm like, I want to talk about team and I want to talk about just everything, honestly, but with feminine leadership, what are some of the things that have really changed for you? between how you used to operate versus now?
Well, number one, it's like the spaciousness and letting my body lead, which we kind of just went into, right? So like that's number one of like what shifted is like letting myself honor my body, honor my energy. Number two has been boundaries. So boundaries have been really big for me. Like at the beginning of my business, I really was wanting to be everything for everyone. I wanted to say yes to everything. I wanted to say yes to interviews and say yes to people being on my podcast. And like there is an element of like when you're starting out, you do want to say yes to more things, get more reps, like that kind of stuff. But as my podcast has really grown, as the connections in the industry have grown, as I have way more responsibility because I have way more students at one time, right? Like that, I've had to say no a lot more than I say yes. And be comfortable with that. So again, like going back to the process that I shared, like anytime that comes up, like the little inner girl in me that like needs love and compassion, that's like the people pleaser, that's afraid, that goes into fawning, like, you know, like being with her in that process. And yeah, really, really holding my boundaries of like, what is my body a full body yes to? And if it's not a full body yes, it's no.
So you're such a Manny Jen.
It's such a, totally. Yeah.
Such a manifesting generator.
That is, yeah. So that was really big.
I love that. I love that you're honoring that too. And I feel like too, regardless if you like human design or like want to follow it, it doesn't matter. But I love that the more aligned I see people, the more they actually start using that language.
Totally.
And I'm like, you don't even know you're a generator, but you're right. You don't even know you're a projector. Of course.
You're living your design. Yeah, totally.
So it's fun.
100%. Yeah. It's like full body yes or no. So boundaries have been really huge for me. I know we're going to get into team. Team has really been really big. And like the way that I batch my days and the way that I do my like structure, my schedule, has been also really, really beautiful because I have the same structure every week, with, you know, a few nuances here and there.
Yeah.
Generally. And I let myself have spaciousness.
Yeah. I love that. Before we started recording this, we were actually talking about our week and I was like, how are we doing the same thing? And granted, we've never talked about this at all. Like this has never been a conversation. And I'm like, oh yeah, Mondays, admin days, Tuesdays, all the call days.
Yes.
Like it's so weird, all the things that were like coinciding.
Exactly.
Like, this is just what it's meant to be for feminine entrepreneurs. Let's do that.
Yeah, every time.
With team, how has that changed for you?
Totally. Well, I mentioned Allie on here. So I've had a team actually since the beginning of my business in some capacity because I knew myself very well. And when I launched my podcast, I immediately did hire a team because I was like, there's absolutely no way that I'm editing and like doing all of this because I know myself and like, there's no way I'm going to be consistent. So for me, like I've known myself well that like I've always needed help. Tech is not my strong suit. So I leaned into that really early on. So I've always had a team. I haven't always had the right team in the right places doing the right things. So that takes time to learn and to build. And so for me, I mean, I have an entire social media team that probably has like 5 people on it, but they're contracted out.
It's like an agency, right?
Yeah, it's an agency. Yeah. So I have an agency that does all my reels, that does all my podcasting, that does all of that kind of stuff, which is amazing. And we're constantly shifting and tweaking and changing. I've had an assistant that does all of the like general admin, like helping me out. And then I have Allie, who is like my co-facilitator, my right hand, my project manager, and bringing her in has been the biggest change to my business. She's literally a godsend. She's amazing. And it took me a long time to find her. And she started as my client 3.5 years ago. And so we have a lot of rapport and now we're very, very close. But her personality, like she is somebody who anticipates my needs. She knows exactly what it is that I need in any given moment. She can take things, and she lives here in Austin. So she has a key to my house and walks in with a coffee. I was telling you this. And she's like, all of the emails are done. This is what's happening. Da, 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 da. So now she's like my business mom, which is like, thank God.
I love that.
Yeah. So we have a call every day at 10. She tells me what I need to do. So she manages me and it is phenomenal. So now, because before I was managing all of the team, now what we're shifting into, and we're still like going through the processes of like actually changing hiring. Like we contract people out to like, we're editing the website and the landing pages over here. Like, so a lot of the tech and like those aspects, we hire out. She's my first full-time. She only works for me, like full-time employee. Everybody else has always been contractors. But she will now be the point of contact that manages all of the other team. So nobody's going to have contact with me unless absolutely necessary. So everything filters through Allie now, which is beyond helpful.
Yeah.
Because as we were talking before this even started, like the more my business has grown, the more my network has grown, I cannot keep up with the little level of messages that I'm getting. And that's like such a weird thing to say. Like,
No, but it is.
It feels strange to be like, everyone's contacting me, but like literally my nervous system got so overwhelmed. Like
Yeah.
I used to like, talk to my friends and text and here and there. No, like now it's like, I'm getting 50 to 100 text messages a day. Well, same thing on WhatsApp, same thing on Telegram, same thing on DMs, same thing on email. Like literally it got to the point where like I have a Facebook group for students. It's like, I got to a place where it was literally unmanageable. And that's why like I even tell my friends, I may not respond to you. And I batch my texts like once or twice a month in my responses because I can't. And so going back to the boundaries thing, like I had to really let go of like, I can't get back to every DM. I can't get back to everybody now. And it's a beautiful thing to have. And at the same time, like I've had to really, really learn to like honor my body, honor my own boundaries, I just can't people please and give back to everybody at every like moment, and that's like actually a really real thing. And I think for business owners, like as you continue to grow, like that's going to be a real thing of like, you're going to have to let go of like people pleasing. So Allie manages all of that for me now. And yeah, it's been amazing. So she protects my energy. I love it. And that's her role.
I feel like, even what you're talking about with Allie, I see this a lot because I work with a lot of, you went from solopreneur to CEO, is right. I said it. And I go like solopreneur, CEO, thought leader. That's kind of the, client journey or whatever. But I see that a lot when amazing people that have these beautiful businesses and they're helping so many people, it's like they step into CEO mode and things start shifting. And then you have people that sometimes like, clients or anything like that might not respond really well to it. But I think as a feminine leader, like you do really have to understand that you can't be everything for everybody. Otherwise you will be nothing for nobody. Like it's just gonna be that. Yeah. So I love that you even have those boundaries and you're starting to shift those.
It was hard, because I like have such a big heart and I love everyone. And I'm like, oh, this is like paining my soul. But then I had to really anchor into the truth of like, I have to practice what I preach. I have to honor my boundary. I have to honor what's going to be most regulating to my nervous system. And it's shifted and changed over time. And it is a weird thing because I've always been somebody that's like, like I really like the reason why I'm in this industry is because I love this work so much and I believe it's going to heal and change the planet, and it does. And I love being of service and I love talking to people, and I love, for the first 3 years of my business, I would stay up till like 2:00 in the morning messaging people who were like having a hard time and who were like pouring out their whole heart and soul to me and everything. And it was beautiful. And like, that was a period of time in my life that like, I just can't do that anymore. And I think in business, we get to a point where it's like, yeah, literally to your point, like I'm not going to be of service unless I'm of service to like my own body and myself. And like, really it's like the put on your oxygen mask first kind of thing. Right. And then we actually can help more people because we have more bandwidth to be able to give and to operate in a way that's actually going to be useful and helpful for people.
Yeah, I was recording, the oxygen mask thing, I was recording something with some friends of mine, which by the way, I totally have to introduce you to because they're body workers and they're the most amazing massage therapists, energy body workers. I swear I feel like a new person every time I come out of there. I'll give you their info. But we were just talking about this. They're like, you have to be able to resource yourself before you go and give to the rest of the world. If you're not resourcing yourself, you are literally pouring from emptiness inside of you. So I think that's a big thing with feminine leaders too, because it's always, what I see a lot of the time is like, if you're a lone wolf and you're a solopreneur, like we wear that solopreneur with a badge of honor, like, oh my God, I'm doing everything all by myself. And it's like, but you can't function that way. Yeah. And the feminine is actually not supposed to function that way. We're supposed to be in community. We're supposed to be helping one another, like all these things. And so to be able to take care of yourself and know that other people have got you. Yeah. And can you receive? Yes. Can you step back and not be everything for everyone? Exactly. All the time.
And can you ask for help?
Oh my God, that's a big thing I'm going through right now. I'm like, I have a beautiful team. They're amazing. And everybody it's like an old story. but everybody's always there for me. And I'm like, but I can't ask for the thing that I need, or like, I don't even know what I need, or like, what do I say? And so that's such a big thing, I think, too. It's a lot of feminine.
It's huge with feminine and masculine work, because I don't teach this, but I'm in this work a lot with the polarity and the masculine feminine dynamic in relationships. And it does come into business quite a bit. And so I've really learned, I've been on a huge journey since I've been on the somatic journey as well, over the last few years, about like learning feminine communication with men, learning how to respect the masculine, learning how to, like, you know, open to receive, leading from my desires. And a big thing with masculine is, can you ask for help and accept their leadership? And so that's something that I bring into business as well, is like, can I ask for help? Can I lead with my desires? Like, how do I allow myself to receive support and also trust people in there? And granted, you have to have discernment. Same thing with the masculine as well. You don't want to just let the masculine lead and surrender to their leadership. Before surrender comes discernment. Same thing with team. So like, it took me a while to get the right people in the right places. And I'm getting to the point, I'm not completely dialed in, but I'm getting to the point where we're getting there a lot more, especially with Allie. It's been the greatest change to my business in my whole life. Like, bless her. And yeah, it's like, now I have somebody that I fully trust. Like, I could leave my business for a month and I'd come back with it better than I found it. Like, literally, as we speak right now, like, she's in my back end creating SOPs, like doing stuff for the landing page, like, you know, because we talk every day. I'm like, are you set up? Boom, yes. And then we work together in person, like three days a week at least.
I love that.
Amazing, because I need that.
I know. No, I think even the in-person, like Jules and I were talking, like, I'm like, oh my God, I would love to have like an in-person day, like once a week with the people, but my team is around the world. So damn it. Totally. But yes, I get that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so, yeah, actually surrendering and trusting that, like, she's got it. They've got it. You know, it's okay. And like, I'll come in and like make tweaks here and there, but actually letting go of control has been really, really big, because for a long time I was like, nobody can do it better than me, and I have to do it. But I burnt myself out. I'll just do it myself. Yeah, exactly. And that's like, you're bottlenecking yourself. And that's something that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, you know? Yeah.
I think it's a big thing. I see it a lot with an entrepreneur, especially with women, being able to really trust that person to be like, I've got you, and I've got you 5 steps ahead of what you think. Yeah. And I'm like, not that I'm like better than you or anything. They just throw us like, nope, I'm already got this, and this done. And I think that also I'm sure you've experienced this too. Not everybody that you hire is the right hire. Yeah. And you can go through kiss some frogs and not get a prince type of
I've been through a lot of hires.
Yeah. And I've helped a lot of my entrepreneur clients like build teams and hire people. And I'm like, oh no, like, especially if you're like wanting to get things done, you hire a generator. You hire generators. Projectors are here to help you actually see the vision and strategize and plan. And that's where we come in. Yeah. Don't hire us to do things every single day. It's a lot. Yeah. But yeah, I think building team and being able to be supported is really important for feminine leadership. I think it's so beautiful that you're doing that and you're in that phase of your life.
Yes, it's so good.
I would love to, and I guess we can just close out with this a little bit, but what would you love to see in feminine business going forward? Because I feel like we're at a time right now where all the systems are falling away. Yeah. That don't work anymore. And we're so individualized, and it's beautiful. Yeah. And it's like, what do we get to create from an embodied feminine leader and the system that we want that will serve us with our cycles and surrender and all these things that we've been talking about? What are some things that you would love to see and to see go away?
Oh, I love that. This is such a good question. And I'll relate this to my own journey. I think what I would love to see for feminine leaders is having the feminine, having these women be so connected to their own body, their own truth, their own intuition, their own being, that they no longer look outside of themselves for any answer and know that all of it exists within them.
Yes.
And something that I've seen in this industry, and it's a microcosm of a macrocosm as well in society, is that we are often, especially as women, trained to look outside of ourselves for the answer, to think that somebody else knows better than us, to doubt ourselves, to doubt our intuition, to doubt our body's innate wisdom and what it's trying to communicate with us. And in order to actually really create change and be who we're meant to be in the world, we have to learn how to actually trust our own body and trust our own wisdom that's coming through. and not pedestalize anybody else. Because I've seen that so much in this industry. Just because somebody has a lot of followers, just because somebody has been a coach for a long time, just because there's
a lot of money,
make a lot of money, exactly, has fame, whatever it is, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that you are supposed to follow their path, or like even having discernment in the leaders that you follow, like really feeling into like in your body, is this a decision that I want to make in business? Is this somebody that I want to learn from? Is this the way that I want to structure my business? Like always bringing it back to your own wisdom, not because somebody else did it that way or somebody tells you that you have to do X, Y, Z, right? Like, and no pedestalizing of outside of yourself. Cause that was a big journey for me of coming back home into my own trust and my own inner knowing, was breaking myself of the pattern of thinking that anything outside of myself had the answer. And so I think for me, like that's what I'd like to see is women really trusting their own intuition, and getting so deeply acquainted with that the answers come through their body and being, and that's what they trust, because there's so much trust there and there's so much relationship built, that there's no room for the self-doubt.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. I love that because I feel like it's a lot of like the work that I do. People will come to me, and I think it's because the industry has very much been like, I have this strategy, I have this way of being, this is what made me $1 million, whatever it was. And people will come to me and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what my strategy is, because I'm a projector, you're a generator, you're a mani-gen, you're whatever it is. And I use human design because it's easier. Yeah. But I'm not going to give you what I did, but I can give you perspectives that will work for you, because of what I've seen with your type, or what I've seen with your type of business, or whatever it is, and to shift in that way. And so being able to trust yourself and what you want to create, and knowing that you have the answers over anybody. Yeah. No one else can give you that answer. And oh my God, I just love that. I love that. Okay. I think we'll wrap with that, because this has been amazing. Oh my God, this has been phenomenal. I'm so grateful that you were able to come and record. And is there any last words or anything that you want to share with anybody?
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. Let me tune in. I would just say, like, you get to trust the process, and you're on the path and you're doing it, like there's no place to arrive. And remember, like, that it's just about the journey. It's just about being with it. Like, it's not about getting to a certain place or figuring it out. It's about like learning to be here now in the present moment with what is, and accept all of it and welcome all of it and be with all of it. And the more that you can do that, the more you'll actually cultivate trust with yourself and with the present moment, the more you'll be able to surrender. And I think just like trust where you are right now, because it's perfect.
I love that. I needed to hear that today too. It's beautiful. Same. Thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys want to connect with Rachel, everything will be in the show notes. There's also a Q&A form, as always, under every episode. So you're welcome to drop any questions in there. I will send them directly, or you can connect with her directly. And at the same time, if this is coming out most likely when she has some retreat going on, or her course that she was talking about in the last episode, I very much encourage you to go and experience it. And we'll most likely have links down below for that.
We have a retreat in Costa Rica in May where we're going to do all of this work. So I'm assuming this will come out before then. Oh yeah. And then I can check out the online program Expand as well.
And we'll get links and be able to put that in.
Cool. Too, amazing.
So. Yay. Amazing. All right. Thank you guys so much. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this Wildly Satisfied production. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love it if you would share it with someone that you love, leave a review, or come tag us on social media at Wildly Satisfied.